He can't start this podcast. He's an unpaid intern.
Stay tuned for Burnaflick.
All right, and welcome back to Burnaflick. We are here with Eugene, with Jonah, and last but not least, Deming,
Special guest.
special guest. Also, one
I
day
guess
to be
recurring
regular.
guest, because you've been here before.
One other time, I think.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Mandela effect that Murph had that I had done another one, but I definitely have not.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully more soon.
You know, we get guests all the time that come and go. Nothing special, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
But today we are talking about the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Directed, written, and everything else from Wes Anderson. Some people would say the second best director with his name, with a Wes or an Anderson.
What?
Yeah, I think
What
that
are
I
you
don't
talking
think that one landed.
There's a Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes, and there's also Wes Craven.
Who makes great movies. Wes Craven, I don't think he makes good movies.
No, the it was a damn stupid joke.
We know.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah, cut it.
No, I'm leaving that one in. We're gonna roll with it.
But this, if you look back at it, I mean, looking at the critical reviews of them, they're not the best. But realistically, I think this movie,
I think they're wrong.
I think they're wrong.
Yeah.
I think they have to get a life and understand what is good, what is bad. There have been bad ones, but then again, they're all in their own league. So referencing them or relating them to other movies
Mm-hmm.
that aren't Wes Anderson it's irrelevant, in my opinion.
So you're saying that specifically talking about, like, say, The Life Aquatic, comparing it to other movies and other genres, it's kind of superfluous.
Yes.
Because
I
they
don't-
stand
I
alone.
don't know about that.
I
'cause-
agree. I don't think that that's entirely true. I think they can, in some ways, they can stand on their own. They don't have to be, because we can all agree Wes Anderson is a genre.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's I
For
think that's
sure.
what I'm getting at there. Is that,
Now, you can have a conversation. I do have a lot of opinions on this in the Wes Anderson genre and his chronology and how his style has changed. There are ups and downs and goods and bads in that. You can have that conversation, but I still think you can talk about them as just movies as well.
yes, absolutely. But sometimes I feel obviously they're not in the same universe. Some of them could feel that way, in a way. So
You're saying that Wes Anderson movies occur in the same universe?
no, I'm saying
Okay.
it feels
I was-
that way.
Well, I was going to say that's such a ludicrous.
I think it's just
Yeah.
because he has such a particular style
Yeah.
Mhm.
that, like, I think it's fun to think of it as, oh, they're all in one universe. It's kind of like Quentin Tarantino.
Well, could
Like-
you imagine everyone that looks like Owen Wilson?
Yeah, that's my argument against it. I would say, like, you maybe have a multiverse argument, but
Oh, okay.
because they have such a standard troupe of actors that recur in so many of the movies, then they play
Adrian
wildly
Brody.
different.
Owen Wilson.
I mean, Bill Murray's in almost
Bill
everyone.
Murray.
And I wouldn't even say, and I wasn't saying that they definitely are, or I was saying you feel it. I feel it, at least,
I could see what you're saying. Yeah.
because the artistry, when you're superimposing stop motion animation and a lot of things like he did in
Mhm.
Steve Zissou.
Mm-hmm.
He does it in everything. Of course, that's his style, but it just feels like everything's there in the same.
That was something that I
Point
loved
of
a
existence.
lot when I first started watching this movie.
Mhm.
Was that they could have used real animals, but something about, like, making them all fantastic and silly almost. But that brings me to a comment that what's his name, the Breaking Bad guy, Bryan Cranston, that's him, right? And talking about, if the characters thought that those names and those animals were funny or ridiculous, then it wouldn't land. The
Oh,
fact
yeah.
that those characters take them very seriously as if they're real is an important part of pulling that off, and I really appreciate that.
There's definitely like a fancifulness to his films and just like the feeling that his films have. And I think the people in his movies being so serious in such a non-serious setting or a non-serious situation with like non-serious music going on with
Mhm.
non-serious cinematography where everything's symmetrical, but the people are like super serious. I think that's a vibe.
Hmm.
And that's like the whole Wes Anderson vibe.
So, who here wants to give a brief synopsis of it better than I probably can? I think. Would you like to do it, Deming?
And a brief synopsis of what the movie is basically about.
Yes.
Sure.
Short plot, yeah.
So, short plot, you've got a parody of Jacques Cousteau, an adventure documentarian, naturalist, who was very, very successful, very popular, and has lost his mojo, for lack of a better term. And in this, sort of the pinnacle of his crisis is he loses his best friend to an animal. And then enter Owen Wilson, a possible illegitimate son, who helps him find what was missing in his latest documentary and refocus him, and it kind of also brings the team back together in a certain way. I think that's a pretty brief overview.
That was very well
That
done.
was very.
If I had the applause, oh, I do. Very well done. Great. So when this is, I think, did Royal Tenenbaums, is that before this movie?
This is, yes.
This is 2004, right?
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't exactly remember how Royal Tenenbaums was shot. I saw it a long time ago in high school. But when I was watching this movie, I was comparing it to like his more recent stuff, like Grand Budapest, what's the French Dispatch, and Isle of Dogs. And this movie didn't feel as Wes Anderson-y
So
as as the newer ones.
that's where I do have a lot of opinion about that.
Yeah.
So, first movie being Bottle Rocket. Has anybody seen that one?
No.
So there you get a lot because it was his first movie. It started as a project for school
Okay.
when him and the Wilson brothers were in college. Started as a short movie, and then they got funding to make it feature length.
Yeah.
And that's where they sort of more explored because he was inspired heavily by Italian directors.
Okay.
Of I want to say like the 60s and 70s.
Like Bicycle Thief, that sort of thing.
Right.
Okay.
And so you kind of get more the technological experimentation, not so much the style. So Bottle Rocket very much is a Wes Anderson movie, but it doesn't really look or feel like it.
Okay.
After that, you get Rushmore, which is, again, more technical and not really his style. He kind of gets into like the more deadpan.
Is this 90s right now?
1999.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right.
you get more of like the deadpan performances. You get Jason Schwartzman, who's a great actor who does what we're talking about, who
Mhm.
takes the silliness so seriously and makes that comedy work. That's also where Bill Murray was introduced. It was the first Bill Murray
Rushmore?
presence was Rushmore.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you get into Royal Tenenbaums, and that's where we start seeing the Wes Anderson style, the heavy symmetry, the color palettes being more solidified.
Yeah, very pastel-y.
Hmm. And then also, Bottle Rocket and Rushmore were much more single character stories,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Royal Tenenbaums is more the whole cast has something going on, and it's more of a dynamic thing.
Okay.
And then after Royal Tenenbaums comes Life Aquatic.
Yeah.
Now that's, I think, in my opinion, where his style sort of peaks for me.
You mean peaks? You mean like...
I think movies after that, now there are exceptions,
Yeah.
but there are movies after that where he becomes too much Wes Anderson, if you will.
Okay.
Where the
Like oversaturated
Yes,
Wes Anderson.
exactly. I know a lot of people didn't really like Darjeeling Limited. That one was also good, but that's where it kind of started.
Like, that one came after this one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after Darjeeling was Moonrise Kingdom?
Moonrise Kingdom, yes.
Okay. I
Um,
haven't seen Darjeeling. I love Moonrise Kingdom,
a
though.
lot of people love Moonrise Kingdom. I
Yeah.
think for me, that was where I started noticing that the style was getting a little too heavy, a little too saturated.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the chronology. And then after that, it's very much solidified when you talk about Grand Budapest and all of those. Now, I will say that the stop motion, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and Isle of Dogs, I believe, need to be set apart because they're
Yeah.
such a different medium that it's still very much a Wes Anderson
That's-
style,
Yeah.
but he's exploring so many different ideas that they don't. You can tell they're Wes Anderson movies, but they're not the same. So I wouldn't really compare them to the others.
This movie, were there parts of the movie that felt like it was deliberately low production, or do you think like some moments they just kind of dropped the ball in terms of production? And there's one specific moment I'm talking about where like the audio just turns like really janky. Um,
It depends. Do you remember the moment?
yeah, so he's talking to Owen Wilson's character, Ned. And then Owen Wilson's character says that, "Oh, I'm Ned Plimpton. You knew my mother, Catherine Plimpton." And then they have a short exchange, and then he goes off to smoke at the bow of the ship, and then he comes back, and then the audio is like all janky.
So
So you know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. I can't say whether or not it was on purpose. I believe that it was because I feel like
Yeah.
it was meant to be that you are watching one of his style of documentaries.
Okay.
Because one of the themes
Yeah.
is the blend of, because you remember there's the scene where Eleanor's leaving.
Yeah.
And he makes the comment, it's all really happening. So one of those ideas is that Steve doesn't separate reality from the production of his documentaries. And I think that that's part of his character deficit is he doesn't feel like that guy anymore. And reality is sort of hitting him.
Yeah.
And that's part of his development.
He's definitely a flawed person, but I don't think I'm not that mad at him. I feel like the movie has such a the lighthearted Wes Anderson feel, and it doesn't bother me that he's kind of a dick. I think like just I don't know, it's just kind of funny.
It is funny,
Yeah.
and I like to. He's supposed to be, and he has that moment where in the end he's talking to Kate Blanchett's character, and he says, I read the first draft, and at first I was a little offended and hurt, but I did those things. I said those things. It's me. So there's a little bit of redeeming quality too. He's not just a jerk. He does jerky things. He's a little bit selfish, but at the end of the day, he does care about his people. He just doesn't show it right.
Yeah, that's that is the theme where he's, like you said, he's supposed to be. You don't feel bad, not bad, but you don't feel like
I'm not
you
mad
don't hold
at
it
him.
against him.
Yeah, I don't hold it against
but,
him.
But that's because
the
at the
movie
end, you're
itself is
supposed
not
to.
serious.
But you're also not supposed to hold it against him.
Well, I think also the specific reason they chose to show some old footage. So you remember when the crew is watching an old documentary when he finds the snow mongoose?
Yeah, and
you see the different Steve where he's he's decisive and he's charismatic and he cares and he's like, let's get these guys on, get these guys milk or whatever. You kind of see like that him being the way that he is now is not really him. He was this really great guy and he's lost himself. And so I think that there's an aspect of like, oh, he was, the Steve Irwin of his world,
Do you remember in the beginning of the movie when they went to see the showing of the last movie before going to get funding for the new one?
yeah.
There's a part where he's looking at his old, he's looking at him and his friend on TV. Well, you show the screen a video and it looks at there's a little old TV on a pedestal.
Yep.
And looking at it, he puts his finger on it.
Yep, good
and
zapped.
sees the zap, the spark.
Yeah.
And isn't that supposed to symbolize him losing his spark?
So I think
I don't think so.
I don't
but
think
I'll let
so.
you-
What I think that is, I think that's. So when I first saw that, obviously I've seen this movie hundreds of times. My first feeling of that was he's trying to reach out and be in touch with something that isn't real, and he gets hurt by it. Like it's one of those things. Like, of course I would get zapped by this TV. Like it was like a tongue-in-cheek kind of I think it was just a gag.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything to read into. It's just a little scene to show that, oh, he's sad. And how do we make this sad little thing kind of like into a little Wes Andersonism? Let's make it a little cute zap.
Okay.
Okay. I think it adds to the overall vibe of the movie, but I don't think it adds any depth.
No.
And in fact, I don't think this movie has a lot of depth, to be honest. I think the movie's just trying to be fun.
It is. And the deepest it goes really is, his father-son relationship, of course. But even that, it's not that deep. It's fun. It's it's at the end. It's feel good. It's a little sad.
It's like I didn't expect spoiler alert, sorry. I didn't expect Owen Wilson's character to just not live.
Yeah. And
He just,
in a weird way, like that is, I do love the way the sound works for that. It does add a lot of emotional impact,
Mhm.
and like how like all the things Owen Wilson's character is talking about, revealing himself. He
Mhm.
crashed this plane, and all he's thinking about is how he could have done it better, and
Yeah.
he's like, well, it probably would have made a difference. And then and then when you start to see the blood in the water and the sound cuts out, I thought that was really nice. I love that part so much. I don't like that Ned died, but someone has to, right?
Yeah, it only has to be probably the most innocent character in the movie.
Yeah. And I love one of the stylistic things that I love about this is like the pointing. The pointing is such a funny gag to me. Like,
what do you mean?
okay, so when he's starting when they're watching the Jaguar Shark Part 1, he's using the stick to point to a map,
Yeah.
and he's always pointing at just a random spot. It's never where it's supposed to be. And then later,
Yeah.
when they're talking about going to the Ping Islands,
Mhm.
Eleanor's behind him. He keeps pointing to the wrong one, and like 2 or 3 times, she keeps pointing to the right one. Like, no, it's here. Like, showing everyone. She doesn't tell him that he's wrong. He's just wrong, and he goes, "She's here." And then
I did not notice that.
And then in the end, when they're screening the second part, and he
Mhm.
said, "We lost another member of our crew," and it's the shadow of him pointing to Ned on the flag. So
Oh.
it's not his actual finger; it's the shadow of his finger. He says, "This one was my son." So the pointing is a little cute gag that tickles me.
Or like the part where it's it's Ned, it's Steve, and what's her name? Kate Blanchett's character. Forgot her name already. Even though
Kate
it's not
Blanchett's character was such a shock to me because we had just watched Tar.
Yeah.
So like, by the way, I didn't even know she was in this movie.
Mhm.
So young.
She shows up and I'm like, that looks like a really young Kate Blanchett. And then she spoke and I'm like, that does not sound like Kate Blanchett. She's definitely like using a higher pitched like affectation here.
Mhm.
She is younger,
She's definitely younger,
nearly
but
20 years younger.
but
so-
like this came out after Lord of the Rings,
Correct.
right?
yeah,
And like in Lord of the Rings, that's
That's
Kate
right.
Blanchett's voice.
Yeah.
In this movie, she's definitely like making it higher to
Yeah.
to make it more of a, I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of that is.
I was saying the pointing part where it's them to, you have Ned putting his finger out there,
Mhm.
and then Steve pulls his pointer out, and then you see Kate Blanchett's character just looking around.
Mhm. I like the part. So that part, if you do a deep dive on my Facebook, you'll find pictures of me and Sophie when she was like 3 or 4, and we're doing that, and we're both pointing. But the part where I think Ned does it, and then Jane is Kate
Jane.
Blanchett's character,
Jane, yeah.
says, "You do it too," and it's like such a that had very much like a home video, warm, fuzzy kind of thing to it. I really like
That's
that.
kind of what I was thinking too.
Another gag that I like, or it's not really a gag, but it's telling of their characters, the tattoo that Steve has. He gets asked about it by Jane, he gets asked about it by Ned, but they ask different questions and they get different answers.
Oh, the Jacqueline deep search.
So
Okay.
Jane says, "What's deep search?" And he says it's a submarine.
Yeah.
And you can tell both times that he's thinking about Jacqueline. But Ned asks, "What happened to Jacqueline?" And Steve takes that beat. She never really loved me. And that's another great thing about this. Royal Tenenbaums does this some, but there's so much more of the backstory told in little dialogue like that. Like we never know about Jacqueline. Nobody ever talks about her, but
Yeah.
we know that there's something there that was deeply painful.
I do want to say, so this coming right off the heels of Royal Tenenbaums, and what I vaguely remember of Royal Tenenbaums is that it was a quirky type movie, but there is a real sadness to it. Because I think a lot of the like people they were just sad. And like, it was like this weird family, and they're all siblings, and they're all quirky. The movie's quirky. What I forget what's the plot of Royal Tenenbaums?
So this is another thing that you'll
But
find.
they're all really smart. That's the thing.
Well, this is another thing that you're going to
Yeah.
find.
They're gifted.
Daddy
Yeah.
issues are in almost, I would say, half of Wes Anderson's films, and
Mm.
all the way up through Darjeeling, every single one of them has a father issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Royal Tenenbaums plot is that they are all gifted, and it's sort of like,
Yeah.
now we're seeing this as kids of our generation were gifted, and now they're washed up
Yeah.
because they were treated as gifted as children. Royal treated his children as gifted and as almost a product. You're of my line, and Richie's, you're going to be an all-star tennis player. Margot, you're going to be a playwright, and all of the X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so the main plot is dealing with the family trauma that Royal imposed on each of them differently.
Right. So, thanks for clearing that up. So, what I was trying to say is that, Royal Tenenbaums, it went well with the critics, or it went more well with the critics, because I think there was something of substance, like within like the chocolatey center of Wes Anderson's Wes Anderson-ness. Whereas in this movie, like you peel away all his like little Wes Anderson isms, like, and then there isn't anything there with this movie. That's kind of how I feel. And I think that's why a lot of critics, they got disappointed because they expected something like Royal Tenenbaums, and they didn't get that.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you only for this. You're not wrong
Yeah.
if you've watched it a couple of times.
Okay.
Royal Tenenbaums does a much better job of actually telling you where the trauma comes from
Yeah.
and all of these characters' stories. Whereas in this one, you have to dig a little deeper and think more about because they give you one-liners. Jane's character, they don't talk a whole lot about it, but there's a whole story of the guy that got her pregnant
Mm-hmm.
through an affair, and her dealing with, she had a character development of really desperately wanting to be with this guy and make it work.
Yeah.
And then there's the part where after they get attacked by pirates, she says, "Listen, I'm not going to call anymore."
Yeah.
And so there's that. There's the line about how Ned asks Steve, "Why didn't you try and contact me?"
Yeah.
And he just says, "Because I hate fathers and I never wanted to become one."
That's a lie.
Why do you think that's a lie?
Because he so obviously wants to be Ned's father. It's
N-
so
but
fucking
no,
obvious.
no,
he
that's
says
the-
you should change your name.
The difference
Like-
is,
like that's a lie.
you're talking about a father to an adult.
Yeah.
And again, you're looking at, because he wants it for the production value to the movie. He now in
Yeah.
his life wants to have a relationship with Ned, but he never reached out to him growing up because he didn't want to be a father. So there's development there where at some point in his life, now that he's older and he's, life on the rocks, as he says,
Yeah.
now he wants to maybe try that, but he didn't want to be a father before. So there's something there where he has to hate fathers for some reason. It's probably his own.
Hmm.
So it's not as overt, and I think that makes it a weaker movie than Royal Tenenbaums. And Royal Tenenbaums, even if you do
Yeah.
really dig into Life Aquatic, there's still not as much, for sure. The characters in Royal Tenenbaums are much, they have a lot more depth, they have a lot more backstory, a lot more individual motivation.
You could also, it's Royal Tenenbaums sets up the characters so that you are able to take them seriously.
Mhm.
I mean, Royal Tenenbaums, it's another Wes Anderson movie, so it's got quirkiness to it. There is like unserious like vibes to the movie, but you can take the characters seriously even when they're not being serious. Like you can take them seriously.
Mhm.
My take on this movie is like I can't take any of these characters seriously. I'm just here for the ride and it's fun. But you ask me to take them seriously, I'm like, why? Like,
Well, I think one of the reasons you can't and shouldn't is it's supposed to be a parody.
Okay.
Like Jacques Cousteau exists in this universe because he makes the comment, Cousteau and his cronies were the first to put walkie-talkies in their helmets, but we put a special rabbit ear so we can pipe in some tunes.
Yeah.
Or he says music rather. So it is supposed to be an unserious bunch of characters.
No, I get that. And
yeah.
like a lot of Wes Anderson's movies, they have unserious characters. However, the audience can still take them seriously. You can still like get like real. I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
I think by design in Royal Tenenbaums, you can because you should. In this one, you don't because
But you should also like the audience should take them seriously in this movie because they're also going through some serious things. For example, Kate Blanchett's character, like that's a serious situation. Like you got knocked up by your boss and you're going to be a single mother, but like you also have feelings for your boss. Like that's a serious situation.
yeah.
And but when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, that's funny. Like I don't take it seriously. And even though I think on some level the movie wants me to take it seriously because of how serious Kate Blanchett's character is, especially like in that scene after the pirates you just talked about when she's calling him back saying, "Hey, I'm going to stop calling you" cuz she had a brush with death or whatever. Like that's a serious moment. But I don't know. Did you take it seriously? Like did you
I just don't. So I feel like I don't think that Wes Anderson intended you to take them as serious as his other movies.
Okay.
And so because it's by design, if it was an accident, like if it was through bad writing that you don't take them seriously, then I would say, yeah, if you're supposed to. But because it is a parody of almost everything,
Yeah.
like even, Osirio Draculius is a parody of a producer. He's ridiculous.
Oh, really?
He's
Okay.
he's ludicrous.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is maybe why you kind of get more into where it's more about the style, because I think the thing that you take seriously is the picture as a whole,
Mhm.
not necessarily the characters themselves.
Do you take the movie seriously?
No, not really.
Yeah, me neither.
But like I said, I don't think that you're
Yeah.
supposed to.
Okay.
Is there any? Do you see any obvious symbolism in some aspects of the ship itself?
The movie is wrought with symbolism.
Yeah, so I'm talking about very obvious overtones, not just undertones.
Well, what do you give me an example?
The lighting, the electricity on the
Uh-huh.
ship.
What do you mean by that?
Notice like how the ongoing issue is the electricity on the ship just keeps going
Yes.
out.
Because it's supposed to be reflective of the dysfunctional nature of the crew.
Yeah,
the ship is also
the
dysfunctional.
ragtagness.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like how every single time the power goes out, Steve doesn't react. Right? It's normal to him. Everything's normal to him.
I think he's also trying to ignore the dysfunction.
Yes, exactly.
It's me during a drill.
Yeah.
Until there's one scene when everyone's in the room and he's leaving, and then power goes out and he comes back in and addresses it, and finally like says like, "Hey, we got to do something about this," and then he goes and fixes it.
You're gonna have to be more clear about it because
Is
he
that
doesn't,
after
he
the
doesn't
pirate?
fix anything. The
It's
scene
after.
that you're talking about, I think,
It's after the pirate
is when he
pirates.
leaves and comes back and he says, "Does anyone want to go for a ride?" That's the scene I'm thinking of, unless you're describing it poorly.
After the pirates scene,
Uh-huh.
when they're all in the room, they're talking. Forgot what they're talking about. They're talking, and then he's leaving. He's about to walk out of the room. Power goes out,
Yeah.
and then right before he walks out, he comes back in and then he pretty much goes on like not a rant, but gets all angry about the power being out and like having to fix it.
Mm.
Obviously, yeah, it symbolizes the dysfunction of the crew itself, but
Mhm.
is there more to it than that?
I don't think so.
No.
No. I think if
I
you're
don't think there needs to be.
I think if you're going to talk about any, he doesn't actually address anything until the hotel scene where he falls down. That's when he takes it seriously because up to that point he's trying to push a persona, and then this is when he says, "No, let's give him the reality." Life on the rocks, the production going bad, all washed up. all that stuff, and then he asked for that moment alone with Ned,
Mhm.
and then that's when he makes the decision to try and maybe face reality and make a change, and that's right before they find Hennessy playing cards with the pirates. That part makes me laugh so hard.
The
Steven.
silence.
Are you gonna rescue me? Silence. I fold. Pop, pop. Also, the gun sounds drive me crazy. They are so funny. They sound like cap guns. And the gag about the infinite magazine.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. Do the interns all get Glocks? They share one.
Before we started,
Yeah.
was that?
Anne Marie. Anne Marie is such a funny character. Like,
Yeah.
she's the only one that I get where she's coming from. And I'm like, man, shut up. When he's like, we go your way, that's 3 inches. We go my way, it's 1.5 inches. You want to pay for the extra gas?
Like the only person of sound mind who had
Yeah.
anything to say was her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody else was
Oh,
was
and
ridiculous.
Mrs. Zissou.
Eleanor.
Eleanor
Yeah.
Zissou. Yeah. Eleanor and Anne Marie are the
only-
only one with brains.
Yeah. and then they're always overlooked because that's the plot requires them to be overlooked. Of course.
Yes.
To a point. I mean, when Eleanor comes back with the money, and she's like, and he makes a comment, I want to acknowledge, Eleanor's always been the brains behind Team Zissou.
the part where the vault, there is no vault. Because
Our vault contains,
10 currencies at all, 10
Yeah.
different countries at all times. There goes the inheritance.
No, he goes, well, it looks like we got your inheritance back, Ned. And he opens it and they cut through
It's a hole.
That's it. I'm retired.
I like the whole pirate scene. You know, when we talked about the like, don't touch me. He's an unpaid intern.
Yeah, and he
Has his hand
puts his
over,
hand in front of the barrel.
hovering over the barrel. I like when he finally snaps, and it seems like a dream sequence. It seems like they never actually happened.
Yeah, when his eyes are all bloodshot and you hear
Yeah.
the murmurings of all the crew.
Mhm.
That was, yeah.
And he just goes like,
Get
starts
the
to-
hell off my boat.
But it really happened though.
But it really happened. But it feels like dream sequence because like this one man with an M9,
He just went John Wick.
it just goes
Yeah.
John Wick. The whole thing.
Great music, by the way, for that. I
Yes.
love that
Iggy-
soundtrack.
Iggy or Ziggy something.
There's this one
The
song.
band.
I
Search
think
and, Seek and Destroy, right?
Search and Destroy.
it plays twice in this movie. I think it might have played 3 times, but I think the first
Search and
time
Destroy.
when they go diving,
Mhm.
and then it's like this like beep beep boop bop
Mhm.
like fucking.
Oh,
I love that song. It's I think it's I don't know why. I just love it. Yeah.
The music is a fantastic character. I like that they do that. Like there's, Jane's theme. So when she first shows up on the beach,
Yeah.
it's not called that, but it's effectively that. And they use music in a really fun way to accentuate the mood that they're
Mhm.
trying to go for. They do a really good job with that.
right. Or they essentially take a bunch of David Bowie songs and strip them down
Oh, yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
Portuguese.
Yeah,
Dude, I
Sue
love
George
that guy.
he's incredible. He
Pele,
does
right?
such a good job with those.
Hmm.
Pele Los Santos or Des Santos?
I think it's just Pele Santos.
Santos? No, it's Los
The
Santos.
the camera also does a lot of things I've never seen a Wes Anderson movie do. Like there are moments there's like shaky cam. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Or am I watching a Bourne movie? What's going on? There's this one part where like it's Ned and Steve and they're talking, and then Eleanor walks by, and then the camera like pans around, and then like it watches Eleanor go into a building, and then like I'm like, whoa.
Are you talking about when they get to the
The
island?
islands, yeah.
Tells
And
her that his cat died.
And that's like early, yeah, and that's early in the movie. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, this doesn't feel like a Wes Anderson movie. Like this is like proto Wes Anderson. It's not, but it felt that way.
There's a lot of things too that I think
Yeah.
you miss if you don't watch it a few times that are telling of characters. Like, he pulls the bottle out of his tuxedo,
Yes.
pours him and Ned a shot. Ned never takes it. And when they're walking into the building, you see Ned like throw it on the ground. Little things like that. And it's in that scene.
I love how he says like, Ned's got nothing going for him, but like he's an airline pilot.
Yeah.
So like,
I also
what? He's fine.
love that.
Yeah.
That was his third choice.
Oh, what?
So in the letter that he writes to Steve, he said, "I want to be A, an oceanographer, B, something, and then C, a pilot."
Oh, okay.
And so he's his third choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, he's doing better than most.
It's true.
Yeah. Better than being on a submarine.
It's
meeting
very true.
his father got him killed.
Also, is he really his father?
Is he?
Well, no, or
though?
yeah,
Is he?
Maybe not. But trekking or going to do that, or what's the word? Advancing to figure that out.
Yeah.
The journey. killed him.
Curiosity killed him.
Yes.
Well, it was his dream. That's what
Like
he wanted
his
to do.
cat.
He looked up to
His cat. All right.
We're just
It's-
making connections here.
Don't get that.
That's what we do here.
A rattlesnake bit it in the throat. Jesus, Eleanor, could you not break it to me a little easier?
But she doesn't care.
No.
She does not.
Oh,
care.
she's done.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of a powerful Eleanor scene, when she leaves and Steve's at the end of that dock and she flies over in the seaplane and Sue
Yeah.
George is singing, great moment. And then you kind of see it if you watch.
That is also a very non-Wes Anderson-y
hmm
sequence.
And if you watch Steve's body language too, you really feel a lot of his desperation. Because when Eleanor leaves, although he didn't treat her right,
Yeah.
that was a major blow to his team, and you could see that he felt it.
You know what? That was a funny scene too. Right after when they're essentially giving the dead pirate
Mhm.
leader his last rites, essentially, or whatever you call it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're doing something great, and what's his name comes in.
Yep, Hennessy.
When Hennessy comes in, they were here to help you. Go hide anything, all the Hennessy stuff.
He says, "Put a tarp over anything that says Hennessy on it."
I said, "What do we do with the body?" I just throw it
Throw
on
it
the
aside.
side. They're gonna do something good for a pirate to give him at sea. I was like, fuck him.
Well,
Well, yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
they tried. Good God, is that you, Steven? Also,
aren't they in the western part of Africa? Like what are Filipino pirates doing in that part of the world?
yeah, that's another part of the fantasy, you know.
Yes.
Because when he goes to Porto Patois, that has a very Mediterranean feel,
Mhm.
and it's like, yeah, I don't know what Filipino pirates are doing
Where
there.
are we?
They're diversifying.
Yes.
They're going global.
They were going to take Ned as a hostage, but since they found out that I speak Filipino, seems like they've changed their minds.
I love the scene where he's I don't know, he's looking at he finishes his John Wick scene and then he's like, I've never seen a Bond company stooge stick his neck out for me.
Yeah.
like
I hope you're not gonna bust our chops.
what was that
Bill.
guy's name?
Bill Ubel.
Bill Ubel.
Yes.
What a name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why would I do that? Because you're a Bond company stooge. You know, I'm also a human being.
And he pats his shoulder.
Yeah. I love the the thing.
It's so awkward.
It
It's
is awkward.
so awkward and so funny.
Also,
oh my god.
talking about the cast of characters here,
Yeah.
Klaus and his dogmatic devotion to Steve is so impressive. But
Yeah.
in the scene where Ned is basically taking charge, he's like, "Something, Ned Esteban, let's go out there and find it." And he's like, "Lead," and they do ho. If you look way in the back, completely out of focus,
Yeah.
Klaus in completely blurry, you see him do it too.
So at one point, Steve had the prestige of doing his job. Like he was really into it and serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously something when his friend died,
Mm-hmm.
he lost all of his mojo.
Well, I think you would have to agree that that was the last straw.
The last straw.
But-
Yeah, because they say he's been on decline for like
Yeah.
couple movies now. So
But now at this point, he just cares about getting money so he can just keep doing the thing he's always done because he's comfortable with it.
Well, he's chasing that
Something.
old feeling, yeah.
Mm.
And it took the catalyst of Ned to reinvigorate it.
Yeah. Remember when Ned was, they're on the island, the beach. You see all the illuminations of the shells or rocks or whatever.
The Viet Cong Man of Wars.
The Man of Wars, yes. Sorry, the jellyfish. My bad.
Yes.
I saw it
Viet
again.
Cong. Man.
I know.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
But then
yeah. So
he
good.
asked the
it's
question.
just
Like,
so good.
why does it glow like that? Is it the chemical reaction in the
Their
sand?
membranes?
The organism?
In the
It was-
organism? Is it-
Actually, no. It's the reflection of the moonlight on their outer membranes.
That's a good ad lib.
Good ad lib there,
Yeah.
Ned.
I-
Miles, get a 2-shot of me and Ned.
Oh my god.
And like the thing, like he's holding the boom completely wrong.
Yes.
Klaus is like, he doesn't even know how to hold a boom. The sound is going to be shit.
What I mean is, like, after all that, he asked the question because he wants to keep it interesting. He's trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But then he's like, "That's a good ad lib, not a good question." I mean,
Well, because Steve doesn't see it as, he sees it as a production.
yeah,
You know, it's theater. It's very theatrical rather than being an actual documentary.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. He wanted to just have prestige of something bigger than anything, not
Mhm.
something, for knowledge and education or
Right.
for learning. He
I think
doesn't
that comes
care anymore.
across too when like he's very particular about the nickname that Ned uses for him.
Yeah. Like it didn't even phase him that he tried to call him dad. He's like, no, I don't think that works. Like he's not even considering that he asked him that because he actually wants a father figure. Just completely in movie mode all the time.
Yeah,
Never turns off.
exactly.
She
And then
stamped his name over.
the
watch.
character, what about Steve Z? That sounds good. Try that. We actually, a long time ago, we had a rainbow shark that we named Steve Z. And then when he grew and got big, we called him Papa Steve.
What, you had a rainbow shark?
Yeah, they're bottom feeders. They're technically sharks, but they're like a plectostomus, like with the sucky
Ooh,
mouth.
how would I know any of the words?
A pleco. Pleco?
What
You know.
They're bottom feeders.
You know, the
are
things
they
that suck
big
on the
though?
glass?
Like
They're one of those ones that grow to their tank. They start quite small, but by the end he was about that.
Oh, okay.
I used to
alright.
have a pleco this big.
When I think of sharks, I think of like,
Yeah.
It's a-
okay. I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Is pleco just a normal bottom feeder?
Yeah.
It looks like a shark sometimes, big enough.
Not really.
Eh.
Yeah.
Let's agree to disagree.
We'll agree that I'm right and you're wrong, I guess. They look more like a catfish, if anything.
Yeah.
What are they?
looks like
What's
a
it called?
Rainbow shark or the plectostomus?
Plectosomus.
Yeah.
Stomus.
Stomus.
Or if you go to any Petco, it just says a pleco, and then it tells you it's little.
How do you know about
I
that?
used to have a pleco.
Seriously?
Yeah. And back
Did you
when I was-
used to have a pleco?
My grandfather had like 3 or 4.
Oh,
And they were big.
we had a pleco we got when I was in 7th grade in Florida. Then we moved to Jacksonville. Then we moved out of a house in Jacksonville to an apartment. We came back to the house to move the rest of the stuff out, and somebody had broken into the house. And then the pleco's fish tank was destroyed and it was in the sink.
what the fuck?
Yeah, people who broke into the house and tried to rob our stuff.
And they broke your fish tank?
Yeah, when we thought the pleco was dead in the sink, and I got really mad, and I banged onto the counter,
Yeah.
really angrily, and then the pleco moved. I was like, "Oh my god, he's alive!" Those things are strong. They survived an 18-hour trip to New York.
Shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
in a-
So much Murphy lore that we got out of that.
yeah.
What a roller coaster. Thank you.
God damn it! They killed him. They
Why would
killed
they-
my
why-
boy.
Why would they break your fish tank?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, they're already out of the box thinkers breaking into a house.
Well, we gotta break everybody's home.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Fish
right.
home.
Fuck this home and this home in particular.
I wouldn't be surprised that it was probably an accident.
It was definitely
If they did it on purpose, probably just left the fish wherever it was.
yeah. And or they filled the sink, so they're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Oh,
somebody
they
was-
filled
yeah.
this.
That was
Yeah.
a critical
That's
part of that story.
hilarious.
Oh yeah, they filled the sink, and you see the fish tank to the left is all shattered on the side. I'm like, how this
Interesting.
when this fish came through didn't get cut up by the shards that are on the bottom? So it must have just fell on the ground on the bottom. of the
They were probably
rocks.
trying to move. They were probably just trying to take him.
Honestly, that
They
that
probably
would have been really good to see, or like really funny to see their reaction when it busted the fish tank. Be like, "Fuck, dude!
Like I know we're morally gray, but we're not murderers.
Or is this supposed to be a quick in and out?"
Quick, fill the sink.
Every job is like this. It's like a Wesley Snipes, isn't that? the
That
guy?
that right there, that's a Wes Anderson movie.
That is a Wes Anderson.
Some robbers break in and then they they accidentally break something they don't want to, and then they're in a more conundrum now.
And it was
Well,
like,
they
oh,
already were because they were
Well,
breaking into
what
someone's
about
speaking
house.
of that, there is a scene.
where they found out the owner of the home was like a gangster or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh, you killed the Don's plug.
7 psychopaths.
I like one thing. How I said I was trying to not feed, or trying to scrounge for some sort of layered symbolism or layered metaphors, which are in the movie, of course, but
Uh-huh.
the movie isn't really as layered as you want to think it is. It's just a fun
Yeah.
movie. I was only looking for things I may not have seen because
Well,
Well,
like little hidden Easter eggs.
well, there are
because
some.
I'm sure there are plenty.
I'm sure there are plenty.
Yeah.
So, well, one, I wanted to say, speaking of the fish, early on, there's a thing that illustrates Steve's compassion for animals when he gets in the fight with the guy about
yeah.
as he's leaving, and he gets in the fight, and then immediately all he cares about is saving the crayon pony fish, and he finds the wine glass and like takes him down. Do you know about his portrait? The one where he's like surrounded by the seaweed?
No.
That is a mock-up of
His friend. That's his friend's portrait.
No, so there's him,
Yeah.
and Ned says, he says that he likes it. He says very lifelike, and Steve's like, I'm not crazy about it. That portrait is Blackbeard's portrait.
Oh.
It's a reference to that.
Okay.
And then you go and you see Alistair's, and it's massive. He's like, this guy's a big time
no,
asshole.
no. I thought that previous portrait was of the guy that got eaten by the
No,
shark.
it wasn't. It was Steve.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Never mind. Going back to the guy that like made fun of him at the movie showing, is he supposed to be like a press guy, like a paparazzi guy?
I think he's not. I think he's one of those, not quite paparazzi, but like one of those fans that shows up to rile up
Heckle?
celebrities, hecklers. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so funny because the person who showed me this movie is my friend Nolan.
Mhm.
That guy is the spitting image of his stepdad, and we
Oh.
could never not see that. I was like, "Yo, that's Ed," and he lost his shit. So every time I see that, I think about my friend's stepdad 'cause he looks exactly like him.
I thought he was like some sort of paparazzi, like gonzo journalist type guy who just and then he brings up a Kodak
I was gonna say because
disposable
the
camera,
disposable camera, yeah.
and I'm like, he's not a professional
just there to
whatsoever.
be a
So
jerk.
he's just Ron Galella.
He's just some dude.
You ever heard of Ron Galella?
No, what's that?
Ron Galella is the guy who's famous for taking pictures of Jackie Onassis. He got punched by fucking Vito Corleone. The
Yeah, I know those words.
What's his name from The Godfather? Marlon Brando.
Oh, he got punched by Marlon Brando.
So this guy, he's a famous paparazzo. Right?
Yeah.
He's famous for taking he would pretty much stalk celebrities
Mhm.
and get them at their lowest, right? Rile them up.
Oh,
Get photos of them
okay,
going
okay.
out of character. very
Yeah.
candid. There's a famous picture of Marlon Brando about to punch this guy in the face.
Okay.
This guy's a millionaire because of the ancient, like, very rare photos of celebrities.
Interesting.
Like, he would literally stalk Jackie Onassis. I took a film class in my 2 semesters of college, which I didn't finish,
Mhm.
and I watched a documentary on him, and I read up on him, and I think it's kind of like that. He had a camera
Yeah.
in the movie, and this guy's riling him up. Ron Galella would literally purposely instigate or antagonize
Yeah.
these celebrities to get a rise out of them for a good photo
Interesting.
opportunity.
Sounds exactly like
Okay.
That's exactly what that was
Yeah.
supposed to
And
be.
that may be it. That may be
What's this
what-
guy's name?
Ron Galella
Ron
Oh,
Galella.
or Roy Galella. Let me
Roy
see.
Galella. Interesting. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he was supposed to be that guy.
Yes, he's Ron Edward Galella
Uh huh.
was an American photographer known as the pioneer paparazzo, dubbed paparazzo extraordinaire, the godfather of the U.S. paparazzi culture. He died last year.
Sounds like a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally,
written.
he literally was a dick. He'd be like, oh, he'd do anything. That he would always he did it so much to freaking Godfather man. I said his name, I already forgot it.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando. That Marlon Brando sued him and got like a restraining order against him, and every single time the restraining order would let up, he's like immediately at his home or just waiting for him on the street.
Oh my
to find him.
God.
what a
Yeah.
parasite.
Yeah, yeah, and you see in the documentaries his home. He has a huge studio in his basement of all these pictures,
course.
which people are like bidding wars for him, like offering him millions. Like, no, I'm not selling them.
Wow.
Keeps it for himself.
Reminds me of Nightcrawler.
I don't
It's
I don't know if this counts as an Easter egg, more a reference. So the Belafonte being a
Is
World
that
War II minesweeper. Cousteau's ship was also I'm pretty sure it was a minesweeper, but it definitely was a military vessel that was retired and Cousteau bought.
Okay.
He also had interesting modifications. So Steve's got the observation bubble. Cousteau had a hatch in the deck where you could just open it, and it was just a tube, almost like the TDU, where they would scuba dive out right from underneath the ship.
Oh wow. Okay. Huh.
kind of like the little visual observation deck in the bottom of the Belafonte.
Yeah, that's what I
You-
said. The observation bubble.
Oh, you did say
I did. I know.
that. I was listening
Which I
so
thought
much.
of in a dream, actually.
I like the model of they use, and you see going from the outside and seeing every single deck.
Oh, the
Oh,
cross section.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that scene
Yeah.
so much.
seeing everyone while he's playing the guitar. Right, he's
Mhm.
playing what was he playing?
It's very stage-like.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah,
stage.
theatrical.
Yeah,
Like.
and I love the little comments like the bearing cases aren't supposed to look like that, but we can't afford to fix them this year. Or
I
this
know.
is the kitchen, which probably contains the most technologically advanced equipment on the ship. Like, that's so ludicrous. That's not true at all. But just like the thing that one of the shtick is just Steve constantly talks out of his ass. Like,
What's your favorite song sang by Pele? In
oh, that's tough.
I would assume you'd say is there Life on Mars? Life on Mars.
Life on Mars is probably going to be the one.
I think that's the most meaningful one anyway. But
there's
Hmm.
there was another one that was really good, but yeah.
or like at the end where he's playing, it's just the other credits go up and he's just playing there singing.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to download. I'm going to download the whole soundtrack if possible. I'm sure it's on Spotify.
Yeah.
because I like it. He has a really good singer, and I like those songs.
It's actually I'm pretty sure that's his primary profession is just being a singer.
Yeah, I looked
Oh,
him
that
up.
guy.
Sue George, yeah.
Oh.
He's got other albums out. He's very good.
Yeah, I briefly looked it up when I last saw it before a week ago.
Mhm.
I saw it a year ago. That's why I brought it up and wanted to watch it again. Because when I watched it, I didn't really deep dive in my head. I just watched it to watch it, to have a movie to watch. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was actually on a Wes Anderson little binge there because I watched the Darjeeling Limited for the first time.
Mhm.
Then I watched the French
the first time?
French Dispatch. Yeah,
Hmm.
because Darjeeling Limited came in 2009, 2010 maybe.
Yeah,
Something like
probably
that?
about.
I know Moonrise Kingdom was 11,
Something
Mhm.
yeah, and
and then Grand Budapest was 14.
yeah, those are the only two I hadn't seen.
You haven't seen Grand Budapest?
No. I'm saying
Oh, okay. I was
the
about to
French
say.
Dispatch, and the
French Dispatch was like
Darjeeling Limited.
recent, I
Mhm.
think.
That's 2017 or 18. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the last one before Asteroid City.
no.
I haven't seen Asteroid City.
Neither have I.
Personally, I think it was the most Wes Anderson-y thing. You know how we talked about how
Cranked to 11.
Yeah, you know how we talked about Bottle Rocket and Rushmore didn't really have that visual feeling,
Mhm.
and none of the symmetry. Didn't have that.
Oh yeah.
But this one, it like if you go from the beginning from Bottle Rocket to this one, like it's night and day,
Huh.
right? The depth is always there, of course. The depth of the storytelling was always there, like it was always there. But the camera work and the symmetry and the miniatures, right? That he's famous for,
Mhm.
because he's also one of the people who says he does not believe in CGI unless it's absolutely necessary. Like even
I'm sure he's
Christopher Nolan.
yeah.
Christopher Nolan uses miniatures. He only believes in CGI unless if it's absolutely necessary. But he prefers that because people do this for work, miniatures. Anyway, Asteroid City, it feels like you're literally in a dollhouse in a dollhouse play.
What's it about?
These people who all stop in a small town called Asteroid City
Yeah.
because the town's inside the crater of an asteroid that hit Earth millions of years ago.
Oh,
And
so it's
then-
set in the future.
Yeah, and they're there for some darling child genius Grant thing.
Oh, okay.
And just it's very dramatic.
Oh, it is. Is it?
it's
So it's like more serious.
it's more serious, but it has obviously the comedic quirks to it.
Right. Right.
that-
Okay.
that he's known for.
It's kind of like
Like
Grand
mo-
Budapest, a bit.
I think Grand Budapest is a little more comedic than it is dramatic.
Oh,
This one,
all right.
this one, if you watch it, you'd probably understand. I think it's worth the watch.
Yeah.
But I didn't really care for it too much. I
Mm.
don't think a lot of people did, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, you got to see Scarlett Johansson like half naked, so that's great.
All right.
I was waiting to see which direction. I was really hoping you say you really get to see Scarlett Johansson in like a different role, and she gets to express herself a little bit differently. And you just went right to the body. So I appreciate that. Thank
This
you.
character, so Scarlett Johansson. If you want me to actually be serious about that, you could say Scarlett Johansson's role here is like a mixture of Jojo Rabbit and like Loving Mother type thing,
Mm.
and like Iron Man 2 Black Widow. You
That's
know?
like two different. That's like two
Like-
completely, and then now they're
they cross that little cross bearing there is
interesting.
where they are, because
Wow.
the seriousness and the seriousness and like the dread that you feel in one, like somebody, I'm very serious about this, and the loving nature of Jojo Rabbit. You've seen that movie, right?
Yeah.
The mother, she really cares about her son.
Yeah.
Right? And that she cares about her daughter in this one, right? But she's a single mother, whatever.
Mhm.
But I just say it's really good to see Scarlett Johansson naked. So sue me.
ScarJo has a very interesting career, and I think her involvement with Marvel kind of like gives her a bad rap. It's kind of how like Kristen Stewart got a bad rap because of Twilight.
I
But
agree.
ScarJo is a very accomplished actor. Like, she's done a lot.
Eight-Legged Freaks was the first movie that she, like, big budget movie she did, like 2000, I think.
I think weren't we recently talking about her for some reason?
ScarJo?
Yeah, because I brought up
Yeah.
that she was in a movie called Love Song for Bobby Long, and that was
I don't think
that
so.
was a very interesting movie. Really, that was
Yeah.
one of my favorite movies of hers. She plays like an estranged daughter to John Travolta of all people,
Oh,
and
what
she's
the-
like trying to reconnect as his health is failing.
Hmm.
It's a
Huh.
good movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's a good movie.
She's done a bunch of. I've learned a bunch of movies that she's done that I haven't seen, like Under the Skin.
Oh, you haven't seen Under the Skin?
No, I haven't seen that one.
And you can't
It's a weird one.
you can't talk about her without bringing up the SpongeBob movie, obviously.
Oh, she's actually in that one. I forgot.
Yeah, I always forget too because it's so. It's like
Who's she play?
she's the princess.
Poseidon's daughter.
Oh
Yeah.
no way!
Yeah,
It's true.
I didn't know that. I mean, that came in 2004. I mean, I was like, you know,
And she was in Her.
Her,
Not physically, but yeah.
yeah.
Marriage Story.
Marriage Story,
Yeah.
yeah. Or you have another Bill Murray movie known as Lost in Translation.
Yes.
that one's hard to watch.
19. Yeah, 'cause-
I really liked Lost in Translation, although it is very strange. Like, what is the nature of? I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it. But like
Same.
the premise is problematic.
At best.
but I don't know. I like the movie.
I ever talked
Yeah.
to you about
Execution is everything.
how she was utilized by two divorced Oscar-winning directors for those movies? Like Spike Jonze directed Her, and he won
Oh,
an
yeah,
Academy
yeah, yeah.
Award for Best Screenplay. And then Sofia Coppola utilized her in 2003 and won Best Screenplay. And they were both sort of like love letters to each other, even though they're divorced when he made that movie.
Speaking of Sofia Coppola, a fun trivia bit for the Life Aquatic. Did you know that Angelica Houston was the first third-generation Oscar winner?
Really?
What do you mean? Like her
Like
her
her-
mom won
no,
one, and then her
her-
grandma won one.
her father, and her grandfather.
Oh.
So her father was a director and he got an Oscar,
Mhm.
and then included his dad in something and got an Oscar, and then included her, and she also got an Oscar. And the only other person to do that was Sofia Coppola, but it was after Angelica Houston did it.
Like in a
Did not know that.
generational or third
A
generation?
third-generation Oscar winner.
Interesting. Has anybody
It
tried
just
to
shows
see-
how incestuous Hollywood is.
It really is.
Rigged.
It's rigged.
And that's
Nepotism.
why I haven't gotten my break. That's why.
because your grandfather wasn't in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Darn. uh, anyway, what else is there for this? What do you got?
So
Well,
I haven't really talked at all.
That's true.
You
Yeah.
really haven't.
That's because I didn't really like this movie. You guys were
Let's hear it.
you guys were really hyping it up. You guys like this movie, which is cool, which is awesome.
This is a safe space.
Okay.
I know I look threatening in my outfit right now, but
You
you
look-
are allowed to hate this movie.
He left his
Um,
issued gun in the car.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Wes Anderson is very hit or miss for me. I like The French Dispatch. I didn't see Asteroid City. I like Budapest. And then obviously the animated movies are in like its own separate stratosphere, but still Wes Anderson. I like those. This one didn't do it for me. I think I was really pushing through it. I think I was just
Yeah.
watching the movie to watch the movie, and
So I think that is completely
There's-
fine and
there's
understandable.
Definitely a less focused vibe for this movie, and I don't know if it's. I definitely feel like this being a movie that came right after Royal, because I think he blew up with Royal Tenenbaums critically.
I agree.
Because and then the sophomore project of a big hit, that's always like that. Who knows what's gonna happen with that? So,
Yeah.
and I think like it has all the Wes Anderson vibes, but it has none of the focus that turns it into a compelling narrative, a compelling motion picture. It's not compelling.
No,
like the movie
it's not at all.
doesn't. At no point did the movie have me by the balls. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when you watch a movie, you're fucking locked in.
Yeah.
You are locked in because this shit's happening and you care about this and like, oh my fucking, what's happening here? And you're just locked in and the movie has you. This movie never really does that.
I feel
Yeah.
this movie. So, obviously, there's a lot of Wes Anderson stands out there.
Mhm.
That's cool. Like other directors have their way of doing their own things. Like Christopher Nolan.
Mm.
I would compare this this movie to Tenet, because like I understand Tenet is a good movie.
Yeah.
I understand people like Tenet. I don't like Tenet. I think it's really the dialogue's extremely beefy. In that
Yeah.
there's tons of it. It's entertaining, but it's also a long,
Convoluted.
movie. And Christopher Nolan likes his movies to be almost like puzzles, and it really brings me out of it.
I think that's a really like really good analogy with the Tenet
Mm.
and Steve Zissou.
Yeah, something can
Yeah.
be generally all around good, but
So-
doesn't mean you have to like it because
This
you don't follow.
kind of reminds me too, like, remind me the name of the movie
Mhm.
that you had me watch about the kids in that like
Oh, Short Term 12.
Short Term 12.
Yeah.
So this movie, being one of my favorite movies, has that same vibe. So when Nolan and his friend Patrick, our friend Patrick, first
Yeah.
saw it in theaters, they didn't like it. They thought it was dumb.
Uh-huh.
But they walked away from it and they're like, there's something there. Now, the three of us are biased because we already like Jacques Cousteau. We like ocean stuff. We like adventure stuff.
Mhm.
And so we were predetermined to like it in spite of its faults. And like you made the comment that like Short Term 12 is not the greatest movie of all time,
Mhm.
but it's one of your favorite movies. And I think that
Yeah.
that's true of this. Like this movie as a movie is not great even.
Yeah.
It just has things that I like. And I really like the awkward self-depreciating comedy of Steve just being kind of a washed up dirtbag. But that doesn't make it a good movie.
I think that's all true and accurate statements. yeah, like just like how Tenet, it definitely has Christopher Nolan's like stamp. Like you recognize like this is Chris Nolan's work. Um, yeah. Life Aquatic, it like has Wes Anderson's stamp on it, and it has Wes Anderson's all his little isms are there. Um, but yeah, it just didn't come together as well as like his other movies, critically, narratively. Um, yeah,
But then another thing, I think that
but the vibe's still there.
another reason, and speaking to the vibe, is like something about the when we grew up, and like when the teacher rolls out the big TV on the cart, and you watch some stupid like really poorly produced Nova documentary.
Yeah,
That would make Nolan and I laugh so hard, and they do so much of that stuff. Like when you see the Osiri Draculius logo, and it's like a claymation Earth,
Yeah.
and it just looks like crap.
yeah, yeah.
And like, but because that's so funny to us, we were predisposed to enjoy this. Now again, it's not like you say, it's not compelling. There's nothing compelling about it. There's nothing really even like nothing really changes.
Mm.
Like yeah, the team comes back together, and sure, it's happy-go-lucky, but nothing changes about anything really.
Does Steve like he gets like a new handle on life or something at the end, or
Well, see, it's open-ended in that sense. Like
It's
you
exactly the same.
want to think that he does,
yeah,
but maybe it's not that he has a new handle on it, but that he's just embracing where he is in his career.
okay,
Because yeah, all the team's back together, and they do
Yeah.
get on the ship, so maybe they're going to go and do something, but it's not. They don't tell you like, yeah, he got it back. No, not necessarily. Maybe
Yeah.
he just found that he is in his next phase, whatever that is.
I guess in terms of character development, that it's mostly Ned and Kate Blanchett's character, Jane.
Mhm.
Ned goes from, I guess, being alive to dying. So that's
pretty big
yeah,
development.
big change there.
It's open and closed book.
And Jane, she is gonna be a single mom, and she's gonna stop trying to get with this married man.
Well, there was another thing too, and
Is that her?
again, being predisposed to like this,
Yeah.
the line where she says in 12 years he'll be 11 and a half, and Steve says that was my favorite age. That resonated with Nolan and I because that was our favorite age. And the
Oh.
fact that they referenced that specifically,
Yeah.
we're like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, it has nothing to do with it being a good movie. It's just a lot of like little things, like the Zissou Society being like the Little Orphan Annie Society, like that kind of stuff. And then like
Yeah.
the way that Steve just refuses to acknowledge things, like when Ned reads his letter, and it's obviously personal
Mm.
because he says, "I remember your mother,"
Yeah.
and he says that's pretty much standard boilerplate.
Oh yeah.
Like the fact that he's trying so hard to deny everything,
yeah.
is just funny, and I just like it. Yeah, that's why I will tell people that this is one of my favorite movies. I will not recommend it to people.
Mm.
And I don't really consider myself a Wes Anderson stan. I maybe would have, but like
Yeah.
Moonrise Kingdom, I don't like it. And that's like one of his, like, people rave about it.
That's actually my favorite one. Moonrise Kingdom is my favorite one. Grand Budapest is a close second. I think Grand Budapest did better critically. I definitely won more
Mm.
awards. But yeah.
And even then, like, again, I'm not a stan, but I think that even Darjeeling, which when it came out, this was, even worse than The Life Aquatic.
Yeah.
And it still has so many parts that resonate with me, that are like really great lines and character depth. That one has a lot more depth than Life Aquatic.
I am primed to dislike Darjeeling, and I haven't even seen it, and the reason is completely like irrelevant. Like back in college, I was talking to this one girl just like randomly. We were at some event and we're just like getting to know each other, and she was talking about movies, and I think I had mentioned like Royal Tenenbaums, and she's like, "Oh, you like Wes Anderson?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of his stuff." And then she asked me if I saw Darjeeling, and I'm like, "No." And then she like challenged me on it, and then she was like, "But I thought you said you were a Wes Anderson fan."
Oh,
And I'm like, I guess I'll just kill myself.
Name 3 Wes Anderson
Yeah.
songs right now.
I was gonna say, you beat me to it.
I think that's so dumb.
It's like,
Like I love Wes Anderson, and I haven't seen
Yeah.
all of Grand Budapest. I
Yeah.
haven't seen Isle of Dogs all the way through.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have to.
I
You don't
know.
have to absorb everything they do to enjoy them. That's dumb.
Yeah, I think this is back in like 2012, and like it's still
It's
still in
so
my-
pretentious.
Whenever someone says Darjeeling Limited, I think of that girl.
it's like religious people. Everyone loves God, but you don't like everything he's done, right? You know,
What a weird analogy. Thank you.
but an analogy that makes sense all the same.
So barely. Like I had to do some gymnastics to get there.
You caught me.
Wait, what? I don't
we
even
were
know. What
we
you
were
said.
the trapeze artists. Here. You caught me so.
With the resin on our hands.
It was more like a jokingly analogy. It's like, oh yeah, you just because you're a fan of this director or his movies doesn't mean you have to be a fan of every single one of them.
Oh.
It's like believing in religion. It's like, okay, you can read the Bible but not agree with every story in the Bible. You know. Blah,
I mean,
blah.
if you claim to be Christian, then you kind of have to believe everything's true in the
Technically-
Bible.
technically you
Like,
do.
if you don't, then you're kind of a heretic. So, like,
Well, you are kind of a
have
heretic
to-
500 years ago.
So you're a Wes Anderson heretic.
I suppose so. Yeah,
Burn 'em.
that's yeah. Which
All right, so
let's wrap up here.
oh yeah,
I believe the next flick is Jonah's honor, and I'd love to hear it.
All right, so recently I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima on the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal.
Super dope, and I've also been like painting around the house and stuff like that. Not walls, but actual canvases and stuff like that, and inspired me to pick Ran, Akira Kurosawa movie. I've never seen one of his films.
Oh,
But he obviously is influenced media across the board
Mhm.
for pretty much every genre you can think of, and I think it'd be really cool if we
what's
watch
the
one.
name of it?
Ran.
Ran.
It's a
RAN.
RAN Ran.
Okay.
Akira Kurosawa. It's like a inspired by King Lear. Shakespeare.
Interesting. Okay.
1985.
All right. Ran by Akira Kurosawa. I think the only Akira Kurosawa movie I've seen is Rashomon. No, I saw Seven Samurai. And Rashomon, but I've never seen Ran. Nor have I even heard of Ran. So this is cool.
All right.
All right. I think
All
that's
right.
it. We'll see you guys next time. This has been fun. Ran.
Flick